you know, there was a cross like this. There was, I think it was Jupiter, like was over here. This was Neptune, and then possibly Venus. Anyway, the point being, there was a cross like this. The sun's on the cross. There was 4 planets making a perfect cross, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. I didn't put these at 90, but they would have been like over here instead of here. So, you know, these planets were making a cross. And guess what the sun was doing? It was crucified right on top of that cross. And guess when this happened? Good Friday. And guess when it happened? The 9th hour of daylight. If you've been brought up in the Christian faith, you know that's when Christ was crucified. The Son of God. The Son was crucified on the cross. And he turned to his right hand on the cross, Christ on the cross, the Son on the cross. He turned to his right hand to the man on the right side, and that was Mercury. And he said, "This day thou shalt be with me in paradise." Guess why? Because Mercury travels with the sun always. Then he turned to Mars on the left side, who was Mercury was a thief. Mercury is a thief in astrology. Study it, you'll know that. Mars is violence, you know, the robber. He turned to the robber on the left, and of course, he didn't say anything good to him. The point I'm getting at, this whole thing's reenacted in the heavens on the 9th hour of daylight on Good Friday, and when we had that huge, huge quake. When I was in prison, I started putting all this together, and I started seeing these connections. And I wrote a report about it, and I sent it to the Coastal Geodetic Survey. And I sent them a lot of sample quakes. It showed them how this works. Never heard back from anybody, but some professor was given all this information, and he ended up getting a grant for $25,000 to do some research on it, and he published my work. Yeah, I mean, I could tell you stories, you know, but it's not, my ego wasn't involved. But the point being that it's good they did some research, but you know, they didn't follow through, and they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know enough to do it right. And I'm big-headed enough to think I could have done it better, okay? So the point being that this is what you're dealing with, folks. You're dealing with amazing things here. You're dealing with cosmic things. You're dealing with forces that you have no comprehension about. There's a, you know, as above, so below, right? Well, how about this? As within, so without. So I see Mars afflicting the moon. And I say you've got a lot of conflict, emotional conflict in your life, because you got Mars afflicting the moon. Oh. And then I go further and I say you probably have a lot of anger towards your mother. Well, how did I get that? Huh? How did I come to that conclusion? Because as within, so without. You see where I'm coming from? This is the kind of astrologer I want you to be. I want you to be, look at the psychological meaning, the inner meanings that all this translates into, from as above, so below in here, and then as within, so without. So you carry it one more step. Once you've got that connection, or you see somebody with Saturn. I have a friend who is very caustic and very accusatory towards anybody who disagrees with him. And he's got his name's Michael Horn, and he's an advocate of Billy Myers and the UFO stuff. And he is a proponent and one of the big spokesmen for Billy Myers' work, who claims to have been in contact with these extraterrestrials. But when anybody that disagrees with him, he just, you know, comes at him with so much accusatory, paranoia almost, you know. And I know him personally. He used to be a good friend of mine in California. And he's moved to, where did he move to? Paraguay? Where did he go to? Brazil. Married a girl there, came back to the United States. They're divorced already. And, you know, so I wrote him the other day. I said, give me your birth information, Mike. Because I never asked him. Maybe I did years ago. But so he sends it to me. I knew before I got it. I knew he was going to have Saturn affliction. I knew it. That's what I wanted to see a chart for. And he's very witty. And his humor, he writes these satirical articles that are very saturnine, satirical articles. And they're poking fun and making fun of others. And that's his nature. So I looked at his chart. I just did his chart yesterday because I had to know. I just want to confirm in my mind This has to be Saturn. Sure enough, it was. He has a T-cross with Saturn and Venus on it, which is relationships. You know, Saturn is accusing, and Venus is not able to relate to others very well. And those aspects were so clear in his chart. I haven't written them back, but he doesn't believe in astrology, you know. But he doesn't know, you know. He respects me, and he knows that I know, but he doesn't want to acknowledge it because Billy Myers says there's nothing to astrology. Billy Myers.
First of all, he's born with a horn.
Huh?
First of all, he's born with a horn.
Yeah, Michael Horn. Good for you. Good Capricornian name, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah. Anyway, so, you know, what happens is you'll start to do it the other way. Not only will you be doing charts and saying things about them, but eventually you'll be talking to somebody and say, I got to see this guy's chart. I've got to see what's going on in this guy's chart. Because all of a sudden, everything makes sense. You'll start to see it both ways. You see their behavior, which is reflected in their chart, but then you'll see their chart and you'll know it's in their behavior. It goes both ways. And it all comes back down to this: as above, so below; as within, so without. And you'll get more able to do this as you work with it. So every time you see a person that has, for example, Saturn, let's say Saturn moon affliction. Okay, I talk a lot of afflictions. I do a lot with afflictions. You know why? Because they're very pronounced, and they're very revelatory. You know, if somebody has, you know, Jupiter trine Venus, money comes easy, things flow easy, it's material good. Jupiter's benefic, they're very good energies. You know, that's good. I can tell them, you know, you have that quality. But if I see Jupiter square Venus in a chart, you know, then I know that there's a lot of conflict in their life over money and matters. Why? Because they tend to be over-optimistic and overspend. I have that. I've done that all my life. I've made $250,000 clear many years in a row. I got nothing to show for it today. There's always going to be tomorrow. That's Jupiter, right? I'll be fine, you know. But that's the Jupiter optimism, you know. See, so you know, if you marry somebody like that puts the brakes on you, that helps. You know what I mean? Somebody that says, "Oh, whoa, stop," you know. But the point I'm getting at is that we start to see ourselves better, and we also begin to understand ourselves better in terms of the way we act and why we act the way we do. So, okay, let's kind of go back to some of this. How do I get to there? I didn't want to be there. Let's go to some of the things we haven't covered. Okay. Okay. Oh, we lost it?